Welcome back to Ralph's Sort of True Stories. Now you might be able to tell here we're going to be doing a little Irish story or 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever. The Irish have a reputation for being a bit of a drunk. Well, I guess there's some basis for all these stereotypes, but I have to say not all Irishmen are drunks. But of course most of the ones I know are, and I'm going to share some personal experiences with you. Now I had the one friend, Casey. He was out drinking on St. Paddy's Day, and he got up from his stool after the entire pub had emptied. Casey was the only one left there. He stands up and he falls flat on his face, and he crawls. He crawls over to the door, and he gets his arm up and he pulls himself up and he opens the door and he steps out and falls flat on his face on the sidewalk. So he crawls on the sidewalk. He gets up to the alleyway. It's all cobblestone, and he's going on his elbows, and he finally gets to the back stoop of his house, gets up on his elbows, and he reaches up and he opens the screen door and he holds it in this hand, and then he opens the front door and he pushes it open and he leans in and the screen door slaps him in the side of the head. In most of these Irish houses, the upstairs is where the bedrooms are, and it's a very steep hallway going up, I'll tell you. So Casey, he starts up, and he gets up, and he gets up into bed. He crawls into bed, and he's sleeping the sleep of death. And then the next morning he wakes up. He's got a hell of a hangover, but the main reason he wakes up, his wife's yelling, "Now, Casey, you spent a little too long at the pub again last night now, didn't you?" He says, "Now, wife, why would you be saying a thing like that?" "Well, Mr. O'Connor, the pub owner, called. You left your wheelchair there again." So, I guess Casey was a little bit on the drunk side. Now, one other thing we know about the Irish is they love toasts, and they love sayings like, "May the sun be in your face and the wind at your back. And for your enemies, may their crotches be infested with camel fleas." Well, anyway, the lads are down at the pub and they're drinking and they're having a toast contest to see who can come up with the funniest toast. Sean says, "Well, my toast is, to here's to me and me life, and for spinning it between the legs of me wife." Oh, well, all the lads liked that one real well. They bought him a Guinness and a Jameson's. Then the next day, his buddy, who was there, Mike, sees Sean's wife, Mary, down in the marketplace. And he says, "Now, Mary, did you hear that Sean won the toast contest at the pub last night?" "No, I didn't. What was his toast?" "Oh, I think you ought to be asking your husband about that," thinking he's going to get his buddy in big trouble. So Mary says, "Sean, I understand you won the toast contest last night. What was your toast?" And Sean says, "I think it was, here's to me and me life, and for spinning in church beside me wife." "Ah, Sean, it's so nice of you to be thinking about the Lord when you're out drinking with the lads." So the next day, Mike sees Mary again. "Now, Mary, did you happen to ask Sean what that toast was?" She says, "I did, and I thought it was so lovely." "You thought it was lovely?" She says, "It was lovely, but it was a bit strange, because you know he's only been there once this year. And then I had to drag him by his ear to make him come." So I guess Sean spends more time in bed with his wife than he does going to church. Now there's another fellow. It was Seamus, who actually was Casey's father. You remember the drunk from the wheelchair. Well, Seamus, he also spent a little too long at the pub. And he comes home, he's trying to be very quiet. But remember those narrow staircase going up to the second floor? Well, he's pretty drunk and he's looking this staircase over pretty well. And he gets up to about the third step and he falls backwards and he lands on his arse. Well, that wouldn't be too bad, except he had a half a pint of Jameson's in his back pocket. So now the bottle breaks and the glass cuts the back of his buttocks. So he stands up. And I remember he's drunk, but he's thinking this over. He says, "I know. There's a tin of Band-Aids in the kitchen." So he goes into the kitchen and he gets the Band-Aids. He comes out and in the foyer there's a big mirror. So he drops his trousers And he backs up to the mirror and he takes the Band-Aids and he puts Band-Aids on all of his little cuts. And then he gets up, gets in bed, and again the next morning the wife's saying, "Now, Seamus, you spent a little too long at the pub again last night now, didn't you?" "The wife, why would you be saying that?" She says, "Well, there's spots of blood all over the sheets. There's a trail of blood coming up the staircase. You left the door open and I go down and there's 16 bandages on the mirror." So I guess he had the right idea, just lacking a bit in technique. Now later on, this same fella Seamus with his son Casey go to the doctor. They're going in for a diagnosis. And they sit down and the doctor leans forward and he says, "Seamus," he said, "I've got the bad news for you." He said, "You got the stage 4 cancer." He says, "I can't give you more than about 3 months to live." Well, Seamus sits back and he says, "Oh, Lord." He said, "Well, might as well make the best of it." He said, "Come on, Casey, let's go down to the pub." So they go down to the pub and they're drinking some shots of Jameson with a little Guinness backer. And after a bit, Seamus says, "Barkeep, buy a round of drinks for the bar on me." So the bartender does. And they have a few more Jamesons and Guinness, and he says, "Barkeep, buy another round for the bar." And of course the barkeep does, and then this place starts to narrow down, and a lot of people are starting to leave the bar, and a fella comes by and he says, "Seamus, you know, we've always known you to be a bit of a skinflint. You know, and here you are buying rounds for the bar. What's going on?" He said, "Lads," he says, "I haven't got a lot of time on this good earth before I go to my great reward in heaven. And I thought I would like to share what I have with others." "Oh, well, Seamus, what it is you got?" He said, he says, "I've got the HIV AIDS." "Oh, well, that's bad." He says, "Well, our prayers will be with you." So as Casey and his father Seamus are leaving the bar, Casey says, "Father, why'd you tell those people you got HIV AIDS? You're going to ruin your reputation." And Seamus says, "I don't give a fig for my reputation at this point." He says, "I just don't want any of those blokes messing around with your mother after I'm gone." Well, again, thank you for watching Ralph's Sort of True Stories. Now, I didn't mention it before, but I'm 66% Irish and 34% English. So, you know, with the Irish and the English having the troubles and all, you'd think I'd have a lot of internal conflict, which I do. But I found a solution right here, a little Jameson's whiskey. Again, thanks for watching. Now remember, before you go, down at the bottom there's a little thumbs up. We need you to click on that one. And to the right of that, subscribe, hit that one. And then there's a little tinking tintinabulation bell. We want you to click on that one as well. And that way we'll notify you whenever we post a new video. Again, thanks for watching Ralph's Sort of True Stories.